9 state ministers came themselves and participated actively. There was a lot of enthusiasm, lot of confidence, and a lot of encouragement to all of us that given the challenging circumstances across the world, India continues to be a shining star until 21st of November also, when I see the quick estimates, we find that merchandise trade also is showing growth from the corresponding period last year. Services, of course, is showing significant growth, and collectively India's exports continue to be on the upward trajectory. A number of good suggestions came up on different fronts on which we are very committed to act. There was a deep appreciation of the export promotion mission and the various aspects of the export promotion mission, which was presented by DGFT Mr. Ajay Bhadu to all the participants. A very detailed presentation on various schemes, support programs, and initiatives of the Commerce Ministry were presented before members of the Board of Trade and received widespread acclamation and positive response. A few examples were very, very interesting. For example, our seafood exports, which we thought will take a hit post the US not having as yet concluded the bilateral trade agreement. We were happy to note that thanks to the trade-off between quality control orders that EU desired and the listing of 102 establishments that we succeeded in getting after 9 years of efforts. So for 9 years, EU had not approved our fisheries or marine establishments. Thanks to the pressure of quality control orders, EU approved 102 marine establishments, and we were able to increase our export of fish dramatically to European Union, and therefore our seafood export also has grown in the last 3 months post the duties. It only goes to show that our Indian business, our Indian exporters are resilient, they are full of confidence, they have the ability to face challenges, and the positivity that they demonstrated towards the various free trade agreements under negotiation, whether it is with the EU and US, whether it is with New Zealand and Oman, whether it is with Peru and Chile, whether it is the impending discussions that we are going to launch for a comprehensive economic partnership with Canada, that the Honorable Prime Minister of India and Canada discussed in South Africa at the G20, whether it is the launch of Eurasia FTA with Russia and the other Central Europe or Asian countries, which are starting from tomorrow in New Delhi, whether it is the discussions we have had with the SACU region, South Africa leading the SACU region for a potential free trade agreement, or the discussions to have a second phase PTA with Mercosur, with Brazil in the lead. This only goes to show how widespread the interest to trade with India is, to enter into free trade agreements with India is, You're all aware that I've just come back yesterday after a very successful visit to Israel, where terms of reference were finalized. We will shortly be commencing negotiations, virtually to begin with, and moving into an early stage, early harvest FTA with Israel, where we have tremendous interest in their innovation, in their agri-tech, fintech, and other deep tech areas of work, where we are interested in mobility and services in a big way, where we are looking at ability to provide manpower for infrastructure creation and take infrastructure projects for development in Israel, or it is attracting investments from Israeli companies to leverage their innovations for the world market. The potential for a Israel-India FTA is huge, and we hope to work in mission mode, since the direction of both Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Netanyahu is to solidify this strategic partnership at the earliest. The Board of Trade today expressed tremendous satisfaction at all these ongoing negotiations and has given us very encouraging support to come up with a balanced, fair and equitable agreement with these different geographies. Thank you.
We will take a few questions, but on this topic itself. So, sir, when are the guidelines for different APM, EPM schemes coming?
They are expected to start flowing in soon. Ajay Bahaduji will give you details.
Guidelines will start coming from next week, and we want to finish it maximum by 15th of January, but before that also we are trying to.
Which was the first one?
The market access initiative.
Interest equalization, market access
Those
initiative,
two would come
these two will come next week itself.
So, but have you decided the percentage of?
All of it would come.
Mike. They are in positive territory. There's growth compared to the corresponding period last year. Exact details, the privileges of the Commerce Secretary to release on 15th of December. So I can't take that privilege away from him. But even in the month of November, there's significant growth. Many sectors, including seafood, I think
all our key sectors, all our key export sectors pick up. They are all in positive.
April to October, 4.82 compared to 4.21.
See, one very interesting figure, since we had discussed seafood earlier. From April to October, last year our export was 4.21 billion. This year it is already 4.82 billion. All of this leads to job creation and business opportunities.
Any particular initiatives, any particular suggestions which the department is planning to act on, which were given in the meeting?
Sorry?
So any particular suggestions which were given in the meeting which you are planning to act on?
Lots of suggestions.
They wanted more testing labs for marine, sir, which we have, Minister has promised that we'll get more in panel, both in private domain and with AMPITA. They wanted us to look at, I think, getting more areas under that RBI circular. We'll try to take it up, the RBI benefits for moratorium which are going for multiple
DGTR.
Then they also wanted us to look at whether the legal services can be provided by DGTR. for the MSMEs especially for forming, filing applications and things like that. And Honorable Minister has promised that we will try to save cost and also ensure that they get adequate representation in the DGTR proceedings through services provided through the DGTR system only. So that also, so there were a lot of positive suggestions that came out, and there has been a positive indication from the Honorable Minister's side today. There was issue also on internal logistics costs that export industry face. Though this is largely in private domain, but definitely as Commerce Ministry, we love to engage with the stakeholders and see what can be done to improve that and make it more supportive for our export competitiveness.
Louder. Hand mic. Take that mic.
Sir, Rishabh Bhatnagar with NDTV. Anything around SEZs in terms of rebooting their guidelines or giving sort of rejuvenating their to make them more competitive?
Discussions are underway. Interministerial consultations are going on very actively, and we are quite hopeful of good outcomes in the near future. The industry, of course, has demanded that that will also be a big relief for their operations, help them become more competitive, and will help us reduce imports, which we are today importing from, particularly from the ASEAN region or China and all. We can replace that with the surplus capacities that are there in the SEZ region.
So, Sumita from ET now, you also spoke about India-Canada trade negotiations, and of course that was a big highlight at this year's G20 as well. Could you give us a sense of when are these negotiations beginning and the outlook that India has with respect to these trade negotiations?
Well, every trade negotiation stands on its own legs. So Canada negotiations will be based on the circumstances with Canada. Areas of their interests, areas of our interests, sensitive items on both sides which have to be kept out. But the good news is that the meeting with between the Prime Ministers was very positive. There was a lot of enthusiasm for this CEPA, and it only happened maybe 24 or 40 hours earlier, and I got a message from my counterpart minister this morning at 6:30 a.m. So there is a serious interest on both sides, and we'll probably follow it up with a initial engagement with Canada very soon and kickstart the process. ऐसे आज कोई बहुत ज़्यादा किसी ने उसके बारे में बड़ा कंसर्न जाहिर नहीं किया. स्वाभाविक है कि सब कहते हैं जो आप नेगोशिएट कर रहे हो EU का भी जल्दी करिए, उसकी बड़ी संभावनाएं हैं. UK हो चुका है, उसको एंट्री इनटू फोर्स जल्दी लाइए. US से भी जो भी चर्चा चल रही है अगर ख़त्म हो सके तो स्वाभाविक रूप से सबकी इच्छा है कि न्यूजीलैंड का ख़त्म हो जल्दी तो नए मार्केट्स, नए डेस्टिनेशन शुरू हो जाएंगे. ओमान की भी लोगों की इच्छा थी कि हम जल्दी करें. लोग तो चाहते हैं कि इतना सब मेहनत की है गत महीनों में तो अब उसका आउटकम्स मिले. इंडस्ट्री ने भी हमें बहुत सपोर्ट किया है तो ज़रूर उसका लाभ उनको मिलना शुरू हो जाएगा. थैंक यू.